All right. Hello, ladies. So today's video and topic, we are going to continue and expand upon the last couple of videos related to triggers inside of your life and the stories that we tell ourselves involving those triggers. So today, we're going to talk about a little mental technique that I like to use to help me figure out and get different perspectives on a story that I'm telling myself to find out if it's really true and if there's a better story that I could be telling myself with a better outcome for not only myself, but any and all parties involved. So the way that this works here is, imagine you've got a square, okay, just a regular square. And inside of that square is the story that is being told. So if we think about it that way, there's 4 possible versions or perspectives within that square that the story is being told, so to speak. And when we go through this, what it allows us to do ultimately is see several different perspectives and then come up with the ultimate story and best outcome that we see fit. So here's how this works. The front side of your square, just the front side is, what is the original story? What in its original form? And you can use the other 2 exercises that we did to help you identify triggers and then to help you, determine what story you were telling yourself. I'll pull it up here for you. This technique and mental tool that we used here, where you try to figure out the story associated with the triggers. So you can use that story or any story that you're currently telling yourselves. Now, what we want to do is, first, we want to list out what evidence we have that we can prove that story to be right. And now, this isn't about necessarily finding facts, true or false facts to determine if the story is real or not, or if the story is right or wrong. It's simply, what things are you telling yourself that make you believe this story is currently true? So I'll use a simple example from my own life to kind of help you see what I mean here. So at one point, I had a story in my head that I told myself that my wife, Bree, didn't care about my health issues and my IBS because she wanted to drink with me on weekends and enjoy time together. But alcohol hurts my IBS, and I was telling myself that she didn't care one way or the other because she always wanted to participate in that type of activity with me. And the evidence that I had for that was simply, telling myself, oh, well, she's always wanting to go out and drink, or she's wanting to offer me a shot, or, just trying to prove that story of she didn't care if I was in pain and she didn't care if my IBS flared up or not. And so I'm just going to keep it real simple so y'all can see how this works. Now, the left side of the square, it's, what is the me version of the story? So what this means is we replace the other person or people involved in the story with yourself, basically. So, the original story I told myself was Bree doesn't care about my IBS and the pain I'm dealing with. Well, if I flip it to Stephen doesn't care about what Bree is trying to do and spend time with me, and the evidence to go along with that story of saying that I didn't care about what Bree was trying to accomplish, and how can I prove that story to be real? Well, I was behaving in a selfish mindset and way, thinking only about myself and how my IBS was going to flare up, and wasn't considering her feelings or what she was trying to do, and her ultimate goal was just spend time with me and that kind of thing. So, you know, the me version is replace the person or persons of blame and the source of this story and trigger, replace it with yourself and see how the story sounds when you just read it on paper, just like I did, where it's like, well, now all of a sudden I'm the one not caring about her or what she's trying to feel or do or accomplish. Now, the right side of our square here, what is the direct opposite version of the story? So the original story that I was telling myself was, my wife doesn't care if I have an IBS flare-up and if I experience pain due to drinking alcohol. So what's the direct opposite of that? My wife does care about my IBS and preventing me feeling pain, and doesn't want it to have a flare-up or be worse than it already is. And what evidence do I have to prove that story correct? Well, she's always asking if my stomach is okay, if I can eat certain foods. She's tried to figure out how to adjust meals that she cooks and not include spices I can't have. So there's a bunch of evidence to prove that version of the story correct too. That it's the total opposite of what I originally told myself. And I can tell you this pretty easily because I've obviously already gone through this with this particular story. It might take you a little bit longer to force yourself to think about the direct opposite version of the story and come up with evidence to prove that story true. And again, it's not about actual facts. It's just, what do you have to tell yourself to believe that that story is true or real or the right story? Now, the back side of our square, the last piece, what is the desired outcome or story that you really want? And for me, it was, I wanted to be able to still enjoy time with my wife and experience things and go out, but make sure that it was a controlled, limited fashion so I didn't experience pain with my IBS, but I also got to spend time with her and keep her happy and follow through with what she was trying to achieve as well. And the ultimate desired outcome there was both of us staying happy, both of us getting to spend time together and do what we wanted to do and go out and enjoy life and enjoy time together, but also prevent my IBS from flaring up and causing issues just because I drank too much. So the evidence to prove this story correct would just be kind of a elaboration and combination of the original story and the opposite version of the story. And you kind of mesh the two pieces of evidence together from those to come up with the true desired outcome. So to summarize here, after examining all sides of the square, which version of the story are you choosing to go with and why? And so this is where this gets really important. There's still 4 sides to the story. The desired outcome and story, the new story that is possible, doesn't have to be one of the options. You can still pick the original story. You can still pick the me version, the opposite version, or you can make up a completely new story. And there's a lot of power and relief in realizing you can come up with a brand new story. You don't have to live with the original story. You don't have to live with a selfish version of the story. You don't have to live with the opposite version of the story. You can come up with a totally new version of the story that gives you the outcome that you really want. And now, the only way to make this work is after you've thought about this and gotten to this point, what are you committed to doing in the next 24 to 48 hours to make this story true? And this is where, once you decide what version you want, this is where the change takes place. This is where you actually take action to start building and living the story that you want to live by. The story that you choose, that you want to tell yourself. Now, how can you take action to actually living that story out, getting to the ultimate point and desired outcome that you're looking for? So that is our topic and mental tool exercise for the day. This is in combination with the other two things that we talked about before. First being getting you to identify the triggers in your life and what they are and kind of what they mean. And then what stories do we tell ourselves related to those triggers? And then now the final piece is, how do we come up with the story that we really want, the desired outcome that we really choose and want to lay out in front of us and actually follow through with? That's how we can start having permanent change in our lives. That's how we can develop new habits. That's how you can get rid of excuses that you tell yourself. That's how you can stop the negative thinking or the stories, since we're talking about stories, the stories related to why you can't succeed or why you've failed in the past or why you don't deserve certain things. It's all a bunch of stories, and you can change every single one of them. And coughing is not how to do it.